Looking for a place where everyone in your family can thrive? The Jewish Community Center of Greater Albuquerque is your local hub for wellness, learning, and connection. Whether it's our state-of-the-art fitness center, early childhood programs, or vibrant cultural events, there's something for everyone. Everyone is welcome at the JCC. Join us and be part of a diverse community that supports your whole family's growth and happiness. Visit jccabq.org to learn more.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Good News Conversations here on the Albuquerque Journal Podcast Network. I'm your host, Good News reporter Gino, here with a very special guest this week, the Director of the Department of Senior Affairs, Anna Sanchez. Director, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Gino, for having me on your show today.
Yeah, and it's very excited, Director Sanchez. We talked a little bit about it before we came up on camera. We've covered a lot of senior affairs stories since the Good News Beat got started roughly about a year ago. But I'm curious for our audience, could you give them a quick biography of yourself and how long you've been the director of the department?
No, I appreciate that opportunity. So, Anna Sanchez, the Director for the Department of Senior Affairs with the City of Albuquerque. I was appointed in 2018 under the first term of Mayor Keller. Certainly, it's been an honor. I've learned a lot through this position. You know, my background primarily is in grants and fundraising, but really on relationship building. And a lot of what we do is connecting our older adults in our community with services. So this has certainly been a joy, a wonder, and a learning opportunity for me to continue to figure out how do we continue to serve our growing older adult population. So it's been a very, very busy time period during my tenure here with the city. And certainly through COVID, the National Senior Games, some things that we did early on that was just the strength and testament to the dedication of our employees within the city and the Department of Senior Affairs. So I feel very lucky to still have this job. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit about how the department's events have really become a cornerstone of the Good News coverage. We were kind of joking that there seems to be an event almost every week, if not every single day. But the events have varied, Director, and I think that's what I love most about it. We've done events where we've recognized senior volunteers throughout the city. We've done events where we've recognized seniors that are turning 100. How important is it to highlight the seniors and the work they're doing within the city of Albuquerque?
It is extremely important. And I think that our department has taken it extremely serious, especially after we went through this terrible time of COVID, where the isolation of our older adults was very much, amplified. I think everybody kind of got that impression of like what it is to not have friends or family or a connection to community. And our department works really hard to be able to do that through events and connections that we're able to bring to the public. After COVID, really taking a look at how can we be able to find some of those opportunities to engage individuals. That's going to be a big thing coming out of the Department of Senior Affairs. Like, how do you engage in volunteerism? How do you engage in your health? How do you engage in community? Whether or not you come to one of our centers and get a meal, that is an opportunity for folks to remain engaged, and that's what we want to be able to continue doing. So we put together a full master calendar that I think all of our department has embraced, certainly to be able to continue that work moving forward, because we know how important it is to have opportunities for involvement.
Yeah, and the amazing part about it is it's kind of twofold. It's events that seniors can get involved in, but it's events that the community can get involved in as well. And I know in our conversations we talk about it, and one of the big things for you is multi-generational connections, building connections between generations, and, whether that be grandparents to grandchildren or just these seniors to maybe some of the younger city employees that are working in the senior affairs department or the senior centers. How important is that connection to the fabric of the city?
No, and it's one that certainly our mayor has wholeheartedly embraced. Multi-generational centers is kind of a very unfamiliar territory in other communities, but in Albuquerque, having those spaces and those opportunities for folks to connect, because, whether or not, you're an older adult and you despise, social media and all that the internet brings, we have to find a way to break down those social barriers between our generations. And in our department, and really what we want to do is infuse all of that throughout the city, which is how do we connect people to people again? Certainly a lot of the work that we do is very thoughtful throughout the department. And what we want to make sure is we continue to embed that into every single program and service. Do we get a young service group to help clean up a senior's yard in the community? Do we have those employment opportunities not only for our young people in the senior centers? Can we get some older adults to also do it at the multi-gens? And also through our AmeriCorps senior program, we have foster grandparents that are in schools. We need more folks to be senior companions because there's a lot of folks that really need a companion in this community. So we are going to be looking at that continuous throughout our department on how do we make those intergenerational connections. And just if I could may, it just opened a new multi-generational center with the Santa Barbara Martinez Town Center. That is one that is going to be rocking and rolling with many activities. We will eventually also have our senior youth programming that will be happening there as well. So there is lots of opportunity to get involved in those connections.
Yeah, and Martinez Town is such a historic neighborhood in Albuquerque, and it's awesome to see a multi-generational center situated there. But I kind of want to highlight another historic neighborhood that just had an amazing celebration to kind of end the summer, and that was the Barelas neighborhood. The Barelas Senior Center saw the return of their fiestas for the first time since the pandemic, and I was there along with Angel, one of the senior department officials, and it was awesome to see those seniors get up on their feet, get it dancing, get moving. And you really saw how the importance of that event and what it means to those people. Director, I'm not too sure if you got a chance to go out there and see it, but to have that event return to that community, just how important that was. And I know it was a huge objective for your department to be sure they had that event again.
Certainly. I mean, I think everybody was anxious to be able to bring back these fiestas. And then certainly with the renovations that this administration has done with that park, obviously that also connects the community center. We have the senior center. We have our community garden also that is very, very popular for our older adults that are at the senior center and using that space in a real thoughtful way to bring back community together. So that has been a big part of certainly the work that we've been really trying to do. And I think we had more than even what we imagined to have there for attendance.
Yeah, and you mentioned another thing, Director, that was a really fun story that I got a chance to cover back at the beginning of the year in January. And that was the recognition of ABQ senior volunteers for their years of service to the city. There were so many seniors that were honored at the Albuquerque Museum for 10, 5, 15, 20, even 25 years of
Five
service.
years.
I mean, it's remarkable that these senior citizens, most of them retired, they don't want to stop moving. They don't want to stop working. They want to go help their community. How inspirational is that for you?
It reminds me every day of just, the amazing energy and really encouragement that I think that some of those volunteers amplify for our community members because, I think there's always that stigma and, we're really working on how do we embrace aging, right? Because we're aging right now. How do we think about what we want our life to be later on when we retire? Financially secure, hopefully, but I think that there's a lot of challenges and ways that we want folks to find opportunities. And that volunteerism truly is a way of being able to continue to give back. And a lot of what our department has really been working on is just like people want to be able to live with continued dignity, independence, hopefully, good health is always wonderful. But that engagement, I think that there are so many folks now that are looking for ways in which to give back still. And, I think that's a big part when we're talking about just the health and vibrancy of our community and responding to that one Albuquerque spirit that it takes all of us. Just because you stop going to work doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity for you to continue to get involved in your community for the good works that need to happen.
And I know we typically don't like to ask people how old they are or, those types of questions. But another great story that we did for the Good News Beat earlier this year involved a trio of seniors that turned 100 years old. That was Catherine Dulce, Lydia Murphy, and John Perovich. You guys held a Centurion birthday celebration for them, and you were their director firsthand. And the wealth of information and knowledge and the things that these people have seen over their lifespan is really remarkable. And you even had a local high school that got involved in the
That was
celebration
great.
as well, which kind of just ties together, as you mentioned, honoring these honoring these seniors, but also bridging those multi-generational gaps.
And that one was a real wonderful example. I mean, one of the individuals that you mentioned, John, was, a former UNM, leader. So there are so many different stories that we also need to be capturing because, there is lessons learned, from our older adult population that can be shared, with our young people. Being able to not, And it is, we have a stigma in our society of, asking for age is bad, right? What we even try to shift in our own department is just we celebrate birthdays, right? Because, there is to have another day to be on this planet and hopefully make a difference. That's what we all want to be able to do. So taking time to celebrate these monumental achievements of really just longevity. And that's really what we're also seeing in our community. I mean, the population is growing much older, much quicker, and we're not having a lot of also younger people that are coming in, right? Because of our, stagnant aging, population as well, where the young people, may not be having as many kids. So we really need to embrace what our older adult population still has to offer, and our department really works really hard at that.
And another really cool story that we got to cover, and I know was a personal point of pride for you. That was last month when you had two senior affairs employees that were employees at one of the senior centers here in town, David and Manny. They saved a man's life at the Palo Durul Senior Center. 66-year-old Kim Sears suffered a medical event while at the senior center, and David and Manny jumped into action, administered CPR, kept him stationary even after he woke up because I know he wanted to get up and start moving again. But they were honored by City Hall. And you were on hand to kind of talk about how remarkable these city employees are. But, Director, that was an amazing example of going above and beyond the call of duty for these two city employees. And just, you know, I ran out of words to describe how remarkable their actions were and how calm they were. But for you, when you got to talk to them and be with them at that ceremony, what was that like?
I think that it just reminds us there are heroes every day. I know that we're not quote unquote first responders, but being a public servant for the city of Albuquerque means that you jump in at any time that you're called. And I think our department has done that all through COVID. And then this remarkable story and seeing, their responsiveness, even though they told me that they were really scared, obviously, because, luckily they'd already had their, retraining in CPR. We do that obviously with our staff because all sprinkled throughout the department since I've been here since 2018, we have had medical emergencies. We have had to call the ambulance, so we've had an individual that was recently honored in one of our meal sites that an individual was choking. So I think that, our employees continue to rise above and beyond. I think within the situation, they also get to know our participants personally. So Mr. Sears was not a stranger. He was somebody that was coming in every day. He also has his own personal connection to that center. And, with the fact that David and Manny were able to respond quickly was wonderful. And luckily they were able to save his life. And I think that that is kind of the remarkable nature that you find at any city facility. So I can't certainly take credit. I could just be in awe of their quick thinking and action because I probably would have not have been so calm. So
No,
we're
definitely
really,
not.
really proud
When
of
I
them.
was talking to both of them, I was just in awe of their ability to remain calm, call upon their training, and not really let the situation get to them. And it was just amazing to see. And that brings us to the most recent Senior Affairs Department story that the Good News Beat has covered. And that was at the North Domingo Baca Senior Multi-Generational Center, excuse me. At the end of September, the department partnered with a couple of other organizations to hold a fall prevention or fall assessment event. And the amazing part about it is that these seniors came in not really knowing, where they stood, figuratively and literally, but they left with a full fall risk assessment that they can give their primary care provider. What was the inspiration behind that event?
Well, that actually has been going on for quite a few years, and it wouldn't have been possible without wonderful community partners. So the New Mexico Falls Prevention Coalition, is kind of a movement where they bring in all these partners. So we had CNM, PEMA, UNM, a lot of other folks that were involved to be able to offer this really like important, awareness. I think a lot of older adults, I'm seeing this even with my own aging parents, you don't realize on how much a fall can really provide a very scary situation for individuals. We have a very high rate of individuals that are susceptible to falling, and we try to always do a lot of safety prevention awareness. This event was one of those opportunities where we blended not only the actual assessment, but also tying it with our sports and fitness programs because we have a wonderful program throughout the department that really helps folks figure out, how to be able to strengthen, balance, all those kinds of things that we take for granted until all of a sudden you realize I really should be picking up my feet. I really shouldn't have a whole bunch of trip hazards here, or it's really hard to get up all these steps into my home or my apartment. So just bringing that awareness, that is a big part that the department certainly takes very seriously because we want to help with prevention and also to remain independent as folks get older. So we couldn't have done it without them, but it was a blended event that really we will be holding continuously every year. We want to make sure that folks take advantage and come out to it.
Yeah, it was an amazing event. I was tempted to get a fall risk assessment myself, but if anything, Director, all the stories we've walked through today have really just shown how diverse the senior department really is here in the city of Albuquerque and all the events that it offers to seniors and their families as well. But for you personally, you've been running this department since 2018. What's been the highlight of this job for you?
Well, there's been a lot of highlights. It goes back to the early on, when I was appointed by Mayor Keller, I wanted to take this seriously because even when I introduced myself across the department and to constituents in the community, it does become personal, right? Because no matter what, you're hearing the stories. So the highlights really have been all throughout throughout the time that I've been here, whether or not it's the National Senior Games and that pride for our community and highlighting older adults to most recent daily activities that I see. That's what drives me in the morning. But it is personal because, as having aging parents also, I'm sympathetic to those that are caregiving for older adults. How do we be able to provide services that are robust? We're very lucky in Albuquerque, and we hear it all the time from folks that have relocated here about, wow, you have so many senior centers. That I stand on the shoulders of people that have been here before to have that foresight. But when we're looking at our department and, really by 2030, that 40% of the Bernalillo County will be of an older adult age, what does that mean? So I take that responsibility very seriously. So I can't pinpoint one thing that I'm most proud of, but really the day-to-day operations continue to excite me. It's how we continue to improve our services and programs and evolve also because the population is going to continue to need what we do.
Fantastic. And Director, for any seniors that may be watching today's episode that are interested in getting involved in these events or seeing what the department can do for them, where can they find that information?
There's various ways. I mean, we are open, pretty much for anybody, whether or not it's a caregiver, a senior. Remember, it's not just our public events. We do provide in-home services. So we have our home delivered meal program, transportation we try to provide for individuals. But really, our front door is our phone number, 505-764-6400. Our website also has information because folks might want to know what activities are going on. Certainly, we do publish a very thick activities catalog twice a year in the Albuquerque Journal. So we certainly encourage folks to continue to pick that up. And certainly, our website is really most up to date in social media. But we continue to make sure that we're spreading that word through all of our outreach and activities that we do.
Fantastic. Anna Sanchez, Director of the City of Albuquerque's Department of Senior Affairs. Director Sanchez, thank you so much for joining me.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us. You can find this episode and all our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. If you enjoy our podcasts, please like and subscribe, and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us continue to bring you more content like this. See the show notes for a discount on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading local news source.